Hello and welcome to another Hellenic pagan video. Pagans. And my name is Evan Rigakis and I am your administrator. All right, so this video's topic is going to be Pyrhea, which is the summer solstice, which we have on June 21st. So it alternates actually. Sometimes it's on the 20th, sometimes it might even be on the 22nd, but we usually say the 21st of June just to be on the safe side. So, this is also the great fire festival of the year. It's also called the Festival of Lights for that reason. In some Greek traditions, like the Delphic tradition, the summer solstice was dedicated to Apollo. But in the Greek mystery tradition, especially the Kyberian tradition, why did I take these off? I need to read. Especially the Kyberian tradition of Thebes and Samothrace and the island, well, Samothrace is an island, and the island of Limnos. The summer solstice was celebrated as dedicated to Prometheus, and it was called the Promethean mythos. The taking the fire from Olympus and bringing it to the people. They called it Promethea. That was the name of the festival. But only in Thebes, Samothrace, and Limnos. In other areas that because they all had their own separate traditions. Like the Delphic didn't have this Promethean tradition. So there you go. Pyrhea is the modern adaptation of the Promethea, in keeping with the ancient tradition. Of Samothrace. The festival is 9 days long. I did not stutter. 9 days. Yeah. At this time of the year, on the island of Samothrace, all fires were extinguished. And an emissary playing the role of Prometheus travels to the island of Limnos, the island of Hephaestus, to retrieve the new fire to Samothrace. So this would take the emissary about 9 days to travel to the island, which was relatively close by to Samothrace, and come back with a fire. So it took them 9 days, and that's why it was a 9-day festival. During the 9 days, no fire was permitted on the island, nowhere. So they, this is really my opinion, but I think what they were doing was they did this to remember how it was when mortals did not have fire and lived as beasts in caves and in the trees, and the fire was very different. It's really and here's where the whole Greek mythos erupts from, really, is from the time of the discovery of fire. It has become the most important thing for the ancients, because the discovery of fire really separated them from the other animals and beasts of the wilderness. Now they were more, they had a power in their hands. The fire that they knew came from the sky. They didn't know the stones, and the flint and everything like that, but they get lightning coming from the sky, hit a tree, big flames, and at some point one of them grabbed a branch that had fire on it and brought it into the cave, and that someone was Prometheus. Anyways, so this is basically why they were doing this. It was basically to remind them how they were without the fire, and so when the fire did finally come, it was a big deal, right? So this is the tradition Pyrhea follows. Pyrhea begins 9 days before the summer solstice, with the solstice being the 9th day. Pending when the solstice is, it is on, like I said, roundabout June 13th, depending if the solstice is on the 21st or on the 20th, or you understand. On the first day, we perform a ritual to extinguish the flame. From this day, no flame is permitted for any ritual, and we avoid using fire until the solstice. Like if you smoke, figure out a different way of lighting your cigarette, or don't smoke for 9 days. Yeah, I'd never do. I'm a smoker, so. But you do your best, right? You try and avoid as much usage of fire during those 9 days until the 9th day, when you bring back the fire. We then have 7 days of darkness, during which we remember the Kabiri. These are primordial fire deities. You really should look them up. I have explained who they were in a couple of other videos, but I'm thinking of probably having to do a whole video just on the Kabiri. Would be a really, really good idea. In any case, these Kabiri, we don't really know how many they were, but we know that they were spread throughout all of Greece. But they were not only deities, but they were people, a people. The ancients would call the Kabiri their ancient gods. In ancient times, they called them the ancient gods. That's how ancient they are. We've been able to trace their beginnings to, believe it or not, Paleolithic times in the area which we call Greece. So there are a lot of them, and we will choose 7 of them. The first day we extinguish the fire, and then 7 days we remember the Kabiri, and then on the 9th day the last day, after the 7, we bring back the fire. So we find, we list 7 Kabiri to begin everybody off. But, so let's go through the days. Each day is dedicated to a certain Kabiri, which are listed. First day is the day of Pelaria, or Pelargy, I guess, in English. Pelarge, Pelarge or Pelargy. Then you have the second day is the day of Corybantes. The third day is Prometheus, of course. The fourth day is Estia, because she is a Kabiri. She is a primordial fire deity. And of course, the fifth day is Hephaestus or Hephaestus, and on his island of Lemnos, he is considered actually the father of the Kabiri. That's one story. I mean, there's so many, but some stories say that he was the father of the Kabiri. He's definitely a Kabiri, but he could be even the father of the Kabiri, but they're too ancient to really be able to pinpoint. But some stories do have him as the father of the Kabiri. Okay, so the sixth day is dedicated to Dioscuri. Again, little known deities. And the seventh day is our favorite goddess, the triple goddess Ekati. Because yes, she is also a Kabiri. It says it right in her name. Her name is Ekati. Ka is right in the middle. Ka is the primitive Greek word for fire. So it's right in her name, and that tells you how really ancient she really is, beyond whatever the academic world tells us. She's even older than that. I mean, she is really old. Yeah, no offense, it's good to get old, shit, look at me. I'm an old fart now. Okay, so we continue, and along with each listing, there is a passage of their story that we would read on the day in remembrance. So when you start researching these different Kabiri, where you find them, that's the story that you're gonna read aloud or dedicate that day with. We also do our own research in order to give a fuller account. There are many Kabiri besides these 7, and as we learn more about them, we can also change up the list, that we don't just remember the same 7 every year, and eventually we'll, include all the Kabiri. There's a lot of them. So eventually, you change it up every year, you find new ones and new ones and new ones and new ones, and then at some point you're going to find all of them, and then you just start the whole process all over again. So the final day, the 9th day of the festival is, of course, the day of the solstice. And on the solstice, in the evening, we perform a ritual to ignite the fire. It's a ritual, and it's a little bit involved. And we bring forth the light, or the new flame of the year. Now, there is a challenge that's placed, and the challenge is set to keep the same flame going until next year, when it is extinguished. Some people actually have been able to do that, but most, maybe 3 months, 3 months, maybe 6 months, but somehow somebody blows it out, or somebody put it in the wrong place and it got blown out, or the oil that they used ran out and nobody, poured a little bit more in. So there's the challenge. After the ritual, we celebrate the new flame with food, music, and dancing, drinking and smoking, and basically partying our asses off. And those who are able, meaning if you're allowed to have a fire, if you have a house, you can't do this if you're in an apartment, of course, but the end of the festival, when they bring back the new fire, they bring it back and they build these humongous bonfires all along the beach, and away from kindling, and they'll sing and dance around the bonfires, and jump over them, jump through them, depending on how courageous you are or how drunk you are. Somebody's got to be, on the lookout for flaming bodies. But so today, if you have the ability or the capability to light some bonfires, that's what you would be doing. Partying at the beach at a bonfire. But not everybody lives at the beach, I'm sorry to say. I know I don't. I miss it. Anyways. So basically that's it, though. It's all about bringing the new fire of the year. And for the ancients, this was a very, very important time, because without getting into a lot of detail, the fire was precious, and they didn't have matches. And yeah, okay, they might have had some tricks, but if your fire goes out, villages were sharing fires, and they kept them lit, and of course, in your dwellings, in your little house, you have your central fire, and that was always kept lit. So the fire never really died out. Somebody was responsible to keep the fire lit in these ancient times, from stories that I've heard from and read about and stuff like that. So anyways, that's our summer solstice. I hope you learned something. I know I do. Every time I read this, I learn a lot. But that's how we do our summer solstice, and it's actually a lot of fun, a great party, and even the days of darkness are. You could really get into that. Well, I do. We do. So that's it, my friends. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe if you want. And we'll see you again. Keep safe.